Welcome to Slow News Day Live. My name is Steve Boykin. I'm here in beautiful Boulder Creek, California, where the flannel shirt is our state flag, the pit bull is our state bird, and cannabis is our state flower. It has been a busy week, and I've been working my ass off at a day gig, so I haven't been able to catch everything. Some stuff is kind of gone by the wayside here. A couple of days ago, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but a Russian dip, Oleg Smolyenkov, was outed as a CIA asset. What this did is, so here's the story. This is what we found out. Back in 2016, guy Smolyenkov, who was recruited by the CIA when he was a low-level diplomat, Smolyenkov gave the director of national intelligence and James Clapper and CIA director John Brennan in this little white envelope that had an intelligence report on it from him that said Vladimir Putin had personally ordered the interference of the 2016 election to benefit Donald Trump. This, if you remember at the time, was quoted all throughout media as a high-level source, and people were, the very serious people were very confident that any minute now it would be thoroughly exposed that Vladimir Putin was orchestrating all of these events. It turns out through them outing this guy over the weekend that either John Brennan himself ordered this guy Smolyenkov to fabricate this report, or Smolyenkov fabricated the report because he wanted John Brennan to think that, because he was a double agent. Because it turns out this dude defected from Russia in 2017 after first saying, "No, I'm not going to defect from Russia." When he handed the white envelope to Brennan, and Brennan then took it to the presidential daily briefing and read it in front of Barack Obama that Putin had personally orchestrated the interference in the 2016 election, our CIA was like, "Don't you want to defect, dude? Don't you think like maybe now's a good time to pull the plug on it?" And no, it's okay. I'm fine. I don't need to go anywhere. Flash forward a year, Smolyenkov no longer has a job. He had been fired. And so in 2017, he and his wife and his kids, they go to Montenegro for vacation using their own passports. The CIA whisks them away in the middle of the night on a yacht, and they wind up outside of Washington, D.C. in a high-end suburb where, after over a dozen years of spying and being paid for his spying by the CIA, he was now allowed to collect his cash that the CIA had been holding in escrow for him and his wife buy a $1 million plus house in their own names as defected spies from Russia. In their own names, they buy this house after defecting on their own passports. Russia doesn't give a fuck. Doesn't care. They had this guy living in their country for a year after they had fired him. If they thought he was working for the CIA, if they thought he was passing along intelligence, it's Russia. They would have held a trial. He would have been, or he would have been disappeared in the middle of the night, but he would have been disappeared either way. So it looks like one of two things happened. Either this report that was so vital to the Russiagate narrative that had people jumping up on their seats screaming, but Putin ordered it, and we know because we've got a source from inside the Kremlin that's telling us that this happened. Turns out that was either fabricated on Brennan's orders or fabricated for Brennan because the Russians were playing John Brennan and the CIA and James Clapper and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and Barack Obama, playing all of them. So I don't have I don't have evidence to support one way or the other, whether Smolenkov was this double agent who was totally playing John Brennan, or if John Brennan needed him to fabricate this report. But either way you shake it, it's one more hole in this bullshit conspiracy that was pushed on us by so many fucking different people for so goddamn long. And John Kiriakou went and talked to Aaron Mate about it on Aaron's show Pushback. It's a decent little interview. If you enjoy John's commentary, which I do, you know what, man? I've decided I'm not that keen on Aaron Mate as an interviewer. I don't know. Man, I enjoy his writing quite a bit, but as an interviewer, he does not do it for me. I'm gonna move on to they had elections in Israel on Tuesday, and nothing happened. Well, I mean, something happened. People went and voted. It's just that when they went to go try and figure it out, it was deadlocked to it looks like Benjamin Netanyahu finally lost and will no longer be prime minister of Israel, except Benny Gantz, the guy who would be prime minister, can't form a coalition government. And there are more members that are Likud party allies in the Knesset than there are anyone else to make up the blue and white coalition government. Benny Gantz is the blue and white party. I can't remember the official name of it. They're called a centrist party, but Benny Gantz is a former IDF general who's been sued for war crimes, and has a couple of Palestinian policies that are even more further to the right than Netanyahu. So to call that a center party is incredibly disingenuous. Hello, Karen, Dingo, Grandma Christine, Aborju, Moose Gal. What's happening, y'all? Thank you for hanging out. His interviews on Real News were better. He pushed them harder. A little bit, which is weird because he's at the Gray Zone Project with Max Blumenthal and Ben Norton, and he's got his own show. Like, there's only people who ask really hard questions around at that network. It doesn't, I don't know. It's weird though. I'm not enjoying pushback as much as I thought I would, mostly because of um, the way that Aaron Mate interviews. He's got great guests because he's got great connections. He's got some of the best. He's got one of the fucking, like, if I could have his phone for 30 seconds, I would make good use of it, and I would ask better questions. Um, oh Jesus Christ, Muscal, that wedding. Let me tell you, yo. So it was hot. It was really, 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 really fucking hot. It was like 98 in the fucking shade. There was, you had to walk way away from where the actual wedding was taking place to find the shade. Um, the wedding started an hour late. My wife was one of the bridesmaids. All the bridesmaids looked like they had been fucking screamed at by a crazy person for several hours, which turns out may have been the case, but I'm not sure if she's going to watch this show, so I'll say I'm making that up. Um, ran out of water. The fucking chicken sucked, but the tri-tip was good. Um, I don't know, dude. It was a lot like standing in the hot sun in uncomfortable clothes for an extended period of time with a lot of other people who were standing in the hot sun in even more uncomfortable clothes for an extended period of time. That's about what that was like. I saw the one with Christian Hemphren from WikiLeaks, and again, like, that's what made me go, ah, fuck, dude. Because if you put me in front or any of us on the Free Assange vigil, for that matter, in front of the editor of WikiLeaks, we're going deep quick, and like everyone's coming with us. And I don't know what this like dance around the edges thing is, especially when it comes to Julian Assange. I've heard Aaron Mate talk very nicely about Julian Assange. He won't respond to requests when we try and get him on a vigil, but I think that's because he's busy interviewing Glenn Greenwald and fucking Christian Hemphren. I don't know. Um, I agree, Grandma Christine. I agree. Yeah, no, I guarantee you that there are more people who are unfamiliar with the ins and outs of WikiLeaks who will watch Pushback with Aaron Mate, um, because the people that by and large come to the Free Assange vigils, um, I think, are already coming in more informed and are looking for ways to connect with other activists or ways to become better activists. Um, but and then again, we're also one of the only like handful of sources of information about this going on anyway, um, or at least reliable sources of information. um, and I think we went over some of them last night on the vigil. um, yeah, yeah, I'm going to I'm gonna co-sign pretty much everything that Grandma Christine is saying in the chat at the moment. It seems like all of that money that you spend on a wedding and all of the stress that's incorporated into it would be much better packaged as like energy into building something with all of that money, instead of like getting a photo album at the end of it and a bunch of resentment and like uh list of thank you notes to write and a list of apology notes to write. Um, oh wow. What? Portugal. I wasn't super informed about Assange. You folks have definitely educated me way better. Gordon was the one I initially started watching for that. A super negative view for six months or so ago. Yeah, no, I mean, I talk about it. That we're all on a path here, and we're if you can look at that now 6 months out and recognize it, then fuck, dude, like recognize your walk and be stuck with it. Means all cops are bastards. ACAB. All cops are bastards. I have a friend that is a member of a motorcycle club, and those are the colors of the motorcycle club, and I support most 1% motorcycle clubs in general as a thing, but living out here in the Santa Cruz Mountains where we do, there are a handful of other 1% clubs besides the Hells Angels that are Hells Angels affiliated, and this is one of them. So my friend gave me the sticker, and I said, well, fuck, I will stick that on my computer and put it on camera. And that's about how that went. What do I think inevitably is going to happen to Julian Assange? I don't know. I don't. There's a lot of political and legal maneuvering that can be done between now and February 25th. There's a lot of information that we can still get out. We're going to start regularly going through previous WikiLeaks drops just to re-access, give people, a chance to have access to that information again, even though anybody can just go onto WikiLeaks and look at it. Unless you're used to reading documents and or used to reading diplomatic cables or fucking intelligence agency cables and shit like that. It can get real messy real quick. Like when I first started going through them, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But almost a decade later, I have a grasp on that. I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with the UK elections. And I agree with Gordon Dimmick when he says that Jeremy Corbyn could be beating Boris Johnson over the head with Julian Assange's in Belmarsh prison right now, every single day, over and over and over and over again. And it's legitimate, and it's something that even the UK people aren't fully aware of. Don't have a good enough idea of what's going on. I don't know. We've got a couple of things going for us here in the States in that a federal judge just said that WikiLeaks and the DNC leaks and Podesta emails, all of that should be treated like the Pentagon Papers. It's not up to the DNC or the federal government to go after a publisher, punish a publisher, or publish a journalist because they printed something you didn't like. Stopped watching the Young Katzenbergs after Jimmy left. Last good show they had. Yeah, I know. And look at what they did too. They tried to push Kim Iverson on everybody, and it kind of fucking worked. Like that was scandalous and wrong. Oh, if you guys did not see or are aware of, Graham Elwood has landed safely in Moscow, Russia. He will be there filming a documentary and doing some stand-up shows. Um, yeah. I don't see it ending well, without without like the right kind of political pressure. And I am not necessarily in a position to where you should even listen to me on this because I'm biased as fuck. You know, I co-host a show called Free Assange. Like I'm not going to be. I'm trying to give you the most honest answer I can. I do think that the espionage charges aren't going to hold up at least by the time February rolls around with a media who's willing to stand up to the Trump administration over the espionage charges. They will immediately turn and smear the character of Julian Assange. The character of him that is presented in US media, by the way, is a complete and total fiction. 100% fiction. Um, But I mean, even Rachel goddamn Maddow, as much as she hates Julian Assange, she's unwilling to even say his name. She calls him the WikiLeaks guy and does this squeaky thing with her fucking voice to let her audience know that she really doesn't like him. But even she stood up to the Trump administration and his Justice Department over their fucking egregious abuse of the Espionage Act. So I don't know. I really don't. Going after Chelsea Manning, who by the way today marks 190 days and $81,000. $81,000 in fines for Chelsea Manning, locking her up, locking Jeremy Hammond up. I'm sure other people that were involved with the global intelligence files and the Stratfor leaks will be rounded up. But that's all ancillary punishment as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know what it gets them, except for, compliance. But I don't see anybody who's been fighting on behalf of Julian Assange and on behalf of and with WikiLeaks becoming compliant anytime soon. Do you? I don't see. Jeremy Hammond was already like, fuck no, I'm not testifying. I wasn't going to testify the first time. Are you fucking crazy? Chelsea Manning, fuck no, I'm not testifying. You think Barrett Brown, if they try and drag his ass into it, is going to fucking testify? No. Oh, thank you, free thinker. Gordon Dimmick is slowly becoming one of my more favorite YouTube channels. Like straight up, I really like what that guy's doing, and it is really nice to have him on the show. There were people that told me after he was free on the Free Assange vigil that they would like to see more chats take place between me and Gordon Dimmick. So if I could, I'd have the guy on every week. But if I could, I'd have Whitney Webb on every week, and I'd have Elizabeth Voss. It'd just be me and like interviewing fucking Whitney Webb and Elizabeth Voss and fucking Gordon Dimmick, and all we would do would be smoke pot and fucking talk about shit. Like I don't know. Whitney Webb, by the way, may be on the show tomorrow. I have to confirm with her. But her part 4, her last part in her Epstein series is coming out tomorrow, and it goes into the Clintons. So that should be both incredible and horrible at the same time. Gordon Dimick is a little too establishment for you. I've never heard him go. I don't know what I think of as establishment, but he might be establishment for UK. More often than not, when I'm talking to Gordon, it's about Julian Assange, and he does not have an establishment perspective on that. So I don't know. I mean, I've also never put forth the notion to him that Luciferian pedophiles rule the world, but I think maybe that's an opinion we're all starting to come around to now. What crap is still historically typical? Governments used to either kill, slander, or institutionalize activists. Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. Oh, what did I say about Kim Iverson? I've talked about this a couple of times before. With Kim Iverson, she goes deep in the paint on some neocon bullshit, like a little bit too regularly, and she's since deleted it, but she got herself in trouble for like confessing to the world what a Dave Rubin fangirl she was, and how Dave's take on things is something that she agrees with more often than not. And it's, I can't do it. I've heard her go down the fucking traditional neocon fucking arguments for both free market and Mideast foreign policy. Gordon Dimick is one of the least establishment persons we've ever seen his epic speech outside the court during Julian Assange's hearing, eviscerating corporate dreams. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And he just came out with this like 8 or 9 minute video, and it's called I am Julian Assange, and here's why. And it's a beautiful rant. It's well crafted, fantastically delivered, and he opens it with that clip from that protest. Gordon with the megaphone was pretty fucking hilarious. She defended the criticism of Kaepernick criticizing like he's Betsy Ross design on Nike. What? Yeah, I did. She's just didn't she come out of like the online dating world or something, and now all of a sudden she's got 150,000 followers and is a fucking political influencer to a degree? Like nothing about that makes sense. Nothing. TYT gave her a fucking platform. Like none of that shit makes sense to me. What I think about Trump getting rid of California's emission standards, if we were serious about it, we would all be fucking driving a lot less. Like the cars as a thing wouldn't be a thing. We would have um mass solar and fucking whatever high speed rail. I don't know. Kim Iverson is evolving. She that confessed that up until recently, all she knew was corporate news. She said her father is very progressive, and it's you who opened her eyes to the reality. That might be the case. It might be. I don't know. Um, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch Kim Iverson's show, though. Like I don't do horse race politics. I've got a couple of people that I enjoy watching cover the horse race because of the entertainment value. But we live in an oligarchy with rigged elections. Covering the horse race seems kind of fucking silly to me. Um, yeah, I don't know how getting rid of California emission standards is going to what that's going to do, except for like allow a few CEOs to shift a little bit more money before they all pour it into green capitalism. Like regardless of what Trump is doing with emission standards or with the environment, um, green capitalists are going to win. And they're going to win because they're selling a vision of long-term greed. And they will keep the oligarchy, they will keep the income inequality, but they will allow people to feel better about the sustainable practices they're engaging in. I don't know. I mean, depending on how rigged that census was, and depending on how or how like lopsided the census is in terms of how districts can be gerrymandered and what steps individual states can do to either prevent or work with, as the case may be, their gerrymandering. um, you could make the argument that individual states have the rights to set their emission standards. California goes above and beyond what the federal emission standards are, and you know it. So I'm sure it's bad, but at the same time, like we're trying to manufacture a war in Iran, and I don't know. We're talking about something as dumb as a limited tactical nuclear strike, and that's been a phrase that's been bandied about in corporate media for the last several days. Um, Limited tactical nuclear strike. Sometimes it bugs me that Jimmy Dore doesn't criticize the Young Turks, but I get it and I get why. And he will he'll call them out without calling them out directly, but everybody knows that he's talking about the Young Turks when he does it. Um, they gave him a great job. They took his money and put him on their platform, but they gave him access to a much bigger audience than he didn't. It allowed him to do his show the way that he wants to do his show. It allows him to go on tour more, which is what he wanted to do. So I understand why he's not outright dragging them every single day, at least at this point. Like he's in his, Midwest Catholic mind, he owes them a debt of gratitude, even though they're a fucking um, cynical, bullshit, disingenuous, fake, aggressive news outlet. Watch the Institute for Responsible Technology latest video. I will. Okay. Rad. When is Jimmy going to make a rival TY? I don't see why he would possibly want to do that. But the Slingshot channel out of Germany started the YouTube Content Creators Union, and it's backed by the oldest union in Germany, which is a steelworkers union. So there's a little bit of something to rival that Katzenberg cash. But here's the thing, man. And I don't know if you guys were watching on, was it Saturday or Sunday? I don't know. Whenever Nico House was on. But he was talking about it too. When you get in bed with venture capitalists and they give you this $20 million to go and do things with your network, you don't run your network anymore. You might retain the position CEO of the company, but you are now responsible to the people who literally bought you. So even if Cenk Uygur didn't want to cover Russia, that $20 million did. And now, because he's got that $20 million and it's allowed him a new level of wealth and a new level of access, he's meeting with other venture capitalists, and he's chipping away at the whatever may be left of any kind of independence in that outlet. Yeah, I think Americans are driving more. When Patriot Act on Netflix, Hassan explained how lobbyists derail public transportation projects. Yeah, no, I get that. California's high-speed rail was a little bit different though, because it was Dianne Feinstein's husband whose like land development company was the one that was responsible for like a ridiculous amount of the property that rail was going to run through. Like they were all going to make a fuck ton of money off of that. The other anchors are towing the line. TYT talking down to Nico and Fiorello was the last straw. I have no patience for constant. So I mean, look, dude, and Nico and Fiorello have a point when they criticize TYT, but they also have a competing network. And like that kind of conflict and that kind of drama brings people to their network. They're right for doing it, and it's a smart business tactic to keep doing it up until the point to where it becomes what you do. You know, like they can take shots here and there and they can spar, but if their programming becomes, we're just going to kick TYT today, or if TYT's fucking, if all they do online is try and talk shit to Nico or Fiorella, then that's just, it's fucking clownish. So I hope it doesn't go that way. Yeah, I think we should, I mean, fuck, dude, we need some sort of, we need a couple of different high-speed rail projects here in California. We do. There's There's too many fucking cars. It's gross. You go drive up and down the coast. I don't know, dude. It's gnarly. Exhaust is gnarly. There's fucking exhaust fumes and diesel exhaust fumes blowing over all these fucking strawberry farms and other fruit and vegetable farms all up and down the California coast. And like, I brake dust and shit. And it's just, oh. Yeah, I mean, we don't really have good bus service in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I guess from like, I mean, there's still people that have to walk several miles to get to a bus stop. We're a mile and a half away from the closest bus stop, but that's because we're up at the top of the road. They punished us for not letting them screw us with the high-speed rail by cutting our bus service. Yeah, there was the day that school started. The school started back up here. The Santa Cruz Metro drivers, they weren't exactly striking, but they weren't working overtime anymore because they had agreed to not go on strike at the beginning of the year. And all they wanted was to be paid their overtime, and they still weren't being paid their overtime. So they just didn't show up, and there was a driver shortage. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up for a little bit. There was one thing that I meant to do, and I'm already like, I need to go do some shit and get some dinner ready. But I will try to get back on live, and then for those of you who are Patreon members, I'm interviewing Pat the Burner tonight for that, and that should be up like late night tonight. I tried to interview Marcus, or I did successfully interview Marcus Cage, but it wouldn't upload. And I've got to figure out why the hell it didn't upload, but there should have been one on Tuesday night. So to make up for that, I'll have another one or two over the weekend. If you dig the show, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, and get a notification. You may not always get notifications, but you just give it a fucking shot. If you already support independent media and you would like to support this show, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Lonay. And yeah, I do. When you're supporting independent content creators, keep in mind that like a lot of us read off of independently supported news outlets like Mint Press News. So if you're supporting a bunch of content creators and there's a couple that you're not happy with, go ahead and throw a couple of those dollars at like Mint Press or another independent outlet. And I'll be back here in a little bit. And then I will be chopping it up with Pat later this evening. And until next time, this has been Slow News Day. I'm Steve Boykinen. Good luck to us all.